I want to thank all of you for taking the time to join the Texas Education Agency at tonight's HISD Board of Managers informational session. My name is Dr. Doris Delaney, and I'm one of 3 conservators that support Houston ISD. As you can see on the screen, I'm a native Houstonian and a graduate of Kashmere High School in the Houston Independent School District. I've spent my career as an educator in the Aldine ISD and serving the greater Houston area as Deputy Executive Director of Education Services at Region 4 Education Service Center. As you came, you were provided a handout that gives you access to the Board of Managers application, a webinar explaining the application and selection process, and a way for you to submit questions. The agency has also adjusted the meeting time tonight to provide an opportunity for community members to ask questions directly to the presenter. Our session began at 6:30 and will end at 7:30. We want to provide as much information as possible while also leaving time for questions from the community. It is important that we set some meeting norms and expectations for this session. The agency is here to provide information on the role of the Board of Manager and the process to be on the board. We're asking that you please be respectful to the speakers and your fellow community members as the presentation is given. Again, the presentation has been adjusted or shortened to allow time for as many questions as possible. Use the Microsoft form found via the QR code that was on your handout to submit any questions that you'd like electronically, or be prepared to address the presenter when the time for questions arise. It is now my pleasure to introduce to you TEA Deputy Commissioner of Operations, Alejandro Delgado.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alejandro Delgado. Before I start, I do want to say this is meeting number 4 with a lot of you. And so I want to say thank you so much for coming, for showing up, for participating. We will have a mic tonight for anyone that wants to speak, ask questions. I will do my best to answer all the questions as possible. I also wanted a special thank you to Mr. Dickerson here, principal at Kashmere, the translators who stood by here, and HISD police, the translators, really like all HISD staff for being present during the session. So please give them a round of applause. So a little bit about myself, from Austin. You guys know that already. Whenever you're ready for questions, we can get started. But I do want to make sure, do we have the copies today? Okay, so there are copies back there. So before I ask questions, I do want to make sure there is a half piece of paper with 3 QR codes. And the 3 QR codes has the link to the Board of Managers application, which is due April 6th. It has the link to ask questions online. Those questions will be posted on our website in the next few days. And then it has a link to our webinar about the Board of Managers process. So we're not going to go through the slides today. And we're just going to answer questions. So, sir, good to see you again. How can I answer your question?
I have 3 points, and I'll end with my question. My first point is that I was misinformed. I didn't think your history textbooks for AP History have in them anything about blockbusting. I found out they do. What they say is that black families moved into white neighborhoods like Riverside Terrace here in Houston, and white families moved out. That is not true. What happened is white real estate companies hired black people to move into a home in Riverside Terrace. They gave the blockbuster, a black man, money for an open bar and a live band. And these parties were held on the night before trash was going to be picked up. So people would come, they would get drunk, and then they would kick over trash cans on the way to the bus stop. The next day, the white real estate company would come into the community and say, the blacks are coming. Move out now and you'll get top value for your home. Otherwise, suffer the consequences. Well, panic ensued. It's known as white flight. What happened is those white people moved out and took with them voting habits against their best interests, the best interests of the community, and as a result, we ended up with a flip in American voting habits. You don't teach this. You ought to correct your textbooks. Secondly, during World War II, Francisco Franco was called by Franklin Roosevelt a son of a bitch. Franklin Roosevelt was right, but they were our sons of bitches. The school board we have right now is not that great. The superintendent is not that great, but there are sons of bitches. Lastly, in the movie Django Unchained, James L. Jackson plays the part of a lackey of a person who served the governor. You're doing the same thing. So did Harold Dutton. Are you going to go back to Austin and tell him what you've learned here, and as a result, tell him to pull down this stupid takeover? That is my question.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Realize that this happened back in 2018, and it's about the laws 1842 and 1882. Now, you made some mistakes last night when you said HISD had a B+. It wasn't an A. So that was one of the reasons why TEA is coming in to take over HISD. I keep telling you, taxation without representation is what started the revolution in 1776. If that's what you want, then keep going about it the way that you're going about it. I'm not moving. You don't live here. You're just a visitor. So I'm just letting you know, and I'm going to keep the time. I just want to make sure that you understand it, and everyone at TEA, and everyone at HISD, and all the HFT, everyone that listen. There aren't many teachers that are here. I live here. I teach here. Thank you. Thank you. I live here. I teach here. My kids are in HISD. I'm not going anywhere. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
My name is Keith Downey. I'm co-founder of Wraparound Services for the district under Pro Unitas. And the one thing that we have to assure ourselves in this community feels misrepresented, period, across the board. We have to assure, if there is a board of managers coming in, our children in these communities need equitable funding. In fact, we need more funding. We need more funding. Whenever you put funding in a poorer community, the affluent says, what about us? Well, they don't realize they are affluent. So the point of the matter is we have to make sure that the proper services are in these schools to help our students. A scholarship should not be the exception, it should be the norm in our schools. That being said, are you assuring us that proper funding for because Wraparound's not going to go away, that you definitely are going to put proper funding in schools, not just the Kashmere feeder pattern, because the feeder pattern approach, but all schools, that you're going to do that. And if you put a board of managers in, the reality is it takes about a year for them to get going, to get their feet up under them, to know what they're doing. So that being said, are you assuring us that proper funding will go into these schools?
I can assure that the Board of Managers and the Superintendent are going to work towards proper funding for HIC schools, including, importantly, the wraparound services that are happening right now, and continuing to maintain that.
Yeah. Now,
can we go to the next question, please? Thank you, sir.
right there against the wall.
So I don't know. Could we get the next question? We got a next question, sir. Can we let the lady ask her question?
Your teaching history. You are a principal at all charter schools. You are only a principal for 1 year in Houston ISD. If you look up this guy's history on LinkedIn, look up Deputy Commissioner Alejandro Delgado, look up his LinkedIn profile. You're a UT graduate, a Georgetown graduate. You taught at all charter schools before you came here. Where is Steve Lechelo at? I just seen him run out of here. You guys are causing all of this chaos. We want to talk to your boss.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi. Hi. I had a question as a taxpayer. In reading your job description, I noticed that if you have ever been involved with a closed charter school, you're disqualified. My question is, why aren't you disqualified for being involved with an open charter school? Charter schools are competitors to HISD. Are you going to allow charter school people onto the Board of Managers?
I believe they'll be under consideration if that's what's on the application.
And you don't think that's an obvious conflict of interest? Do you think that's an obvious conflict of interest?
It was a decision made to add it as a criteria.
Well,
it's just one of the aspects.
I can tell you as a taxpayer, you are not addressing any ethical and conflict of interest issues. This just seems like you're going to hustle us out of a lot of money, and I'm very unhappy.
Thank you.
I'm a former teacher with HISD. I'm also an instructional specialist in mathematics. My kids went to Booker T. Washington and Kashmere High School. My husband went to Wheatley. Now, we're looking at all the things that you plan on doing now. What happened during the pandemic when HISD came out of the pandemic with 94% of the schools A, B, and C? What happened? Did you think about what would happen if you allowed them to continue the progress that they were making? Did you ever think about that? Because nothing that you do, because you know none of us, you know none of the schools, you know none of the students, you haven't worked with any. Nothing that you do could possibly make the progress that they've made. So, what were you thinking?
Thank you, ma'am.
No, I can't. Hell no, I can't. Let's get something straight, man. I've been playing the game for 3 meetings. Get out my fucking face, and I'm gonna say what I want to say. He can answer you, but don't put no time on me when a man just stood up here for 5 minutes. I said what I said.
I want him to answer my question.
Say, man, we're going to get into it tonight, partner.
I would like an answer to my question.
That man was up there 5 minutes, huh? Say, man.
Yeah, what were you thinking?
I pay taxes just like you.
Just want an answer to my question. Would you answer, please?
Oh, but we're going to have that discussion now. Who are you? You send your own? Boy, this
Okay, I'm going to assume that you have no reply to my question.
All right. All right, y'all.
Say, man. Say, if it's kids here, check it. Say, man, let's have a conversation. I went viral one night because I was throwing money at your school board. And while I was throwing the money and telling you that they getting money and they not taking care of our kids, ain't nobody said nothing. Ain't nobody said nothing. Greg Abbott, Delgado did not get indicted by the feds. They did not say they, well, I almost told you who they sent. Say, man, we go outside and talk about it. Say, man, you get mad at me all you want. But when they needed me at Kashmere, I was here. When they tell your mama to shut up. And I said what I said. You got a problem protecting criminals. You have a problem with protecting people that misappropriated $2.7 billion in ESSA funds. Our children ain't getting what they need. And now you want to come in here. You've done it to me 1,000 times. You don't like the messenger. But if you're real about it, I tell you what, if you're real about it, I'll get you a charter bus and I'll take you up to Austin. Why don't you take your ass up there and deal with Marath? Because you ain't going to solve it here. But what you ain't going to do is tell me somebody sent me. They sent me when I was in my hospital bed fighting for every one of your kids. So go on and get your mind right. And any one of y'all that don't like what I just said, we go outside and talk about it. We go outside and talk about it. I'm 5'4", and I ain't took an ass whooping in 55 years, and I ain't gonna take one tonight.
Hi, my question is, I was reading. Tell me when. So, I was reading the transcript of the Chronicles interview with Mike Morath, and it was very interesting to me that at one point he said that the board of managers, he said he doesn't want them to be distracted with silly distractions like, should we pay this vendor or that vendor? So one question is it Mike Morath's philosophy that the board of managers should stick to only its own knitting of academics and not try to mix in on financial matters for the district? The district runs on $2 billion a year operating budget. As my friend here before me mentioned, there's a lot of ESSER money out there, and of course they could always raise another bond, so that's a heck of a lot of money. Sounds like Morath thinks that the Board of Managers should not really waste its time overseeing that. Is that a philosophy that he would follow?
No, ma'am. I would say that the commissioner and really the Texas Education Agency's philosophy on that is that academics is the core mission of school districts. And of course, boards absolutely have a fiduciary responsibility over the district. And so while they're both important, academics are the core.
And given that in the same article, Mr. Morath said that the Board of Managers only has 2 employees. One is the superintendent and one is the internal audit department. Given that the Board of Managers will be chosen by Morath, the superintendent will be chosen by Morath, everybody's indirectly or directly reporting to Morath. In what way does the internal audit department in such a situation then remain independent? And how do we as citizens feel that there's any real oversight other than Morath over our money?
The internal audit department will have the same responsibilities.
But it won't be independent, and that's a really important point. It'll indirectly report to Morath, as will everyone else.
I think it will still be independent. Thank you for your question, though.
Quý vị, nếu ai trong đây mà Việt Nam mà cần thống dịch xin giơ tay lên. Nếu ai trong đây Việt Nam mà cần thống dịch xin giơ tay lên.
Buenas tardes, solo para ofrecer servicios de interpretación hacia el español. Si alguien necesita, puede venir a buscar unos audífonos aquí a la esquina. Muchas gracias.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I am Alicia McCullough. I am a parent of 2 students, one at Baylor College of Medicine at Ryan and also at Lamar High School. My question is not a statement. Why the change?
So
And when was it has it changed and why?
Yes, ma'am. So to go back a little bit, in 2019, there was a campus that had underperformed over several years. And going back a few more years, in 2015, a law was signed that was cited here.
I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah, it's okay. I can
Please,
start over.
I want to be able to hear him. Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
So something that people have cited here today is a law that was signed in 2015 called 1842 that basically stated if there was any campus in the state of Texas that underperformed according to the state accountability system over 5 years, it would trigger the Commissioner of Education to make 2 choices: either close the campus or appoint a board of managers to address systemic issues. And in 2019, there was a campus in HISD that triggered that law.
One campus, you said?
There was one campus, and that's what the law said, is that even one campus could trigger that law.
Please, let him speak. I need to be able to hear. I need to be able to hear as a parent. Thank you.
And so it triggered that law. There were actually 2 districts at that time where that happened. It was HISD and Shepherd ISD, which is a much smaller district, but it's in East Texas. And what happened was that the commissioner appointed a board of managers in Shepherd ISD. And in Houston ISD, they pursued litigation that lasted, I believe, over 3 years. And then in January, the Supreme Court said, the ultimate law of the land here in Texas said, the law still stands. So the commissioner had the same choice to make, and instead of closing Wheatley, he decided to appoint a board of managers, and that's the background.
Okay. And you guys did try with this school here, Jack Yates, but you guys were not successful. So is it official?
Yes, ma'am.
So it is official. You guys took over.
We are implementing the process of the intervention.
You're in the process. So, okay, so that's why we're here. I just wanted to be clear. Okay,
Yes,
thank
ma'am.
you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Please remember that these questions are for us, so don't take your answers and make them go past the time. You have 2 minutes to answer each one.
I'll do my best to answer the questions.
Good evening, good evening, good evening.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to wait too because it's a community thing, and when they showed how they moved out the Mannon Pearland School District, there was great furor, but they didn't come out away with the same black eye that we're going to get if we don't if we don't listen to him and to the speaker and to the person who asked the question. One thing, since you're taking over, if you're taking it over, what are the scores you're expecting? What is it that the people are supposed to do? What is their boundary? We do remember the Commission of Education agency wanted to be dismantled under Governor Perry because he said it was a do-nothing agency. Since that time, it has never had people that were bastions of education in them. Manhandled. It's always been somebody sinecure. The manager that was sent to Kashmere when I taught here was a nurse. She did not know anything about the math scores, and she didn't know what it was that we had to do in order to improve. So you're just saying to the school district, improve? We don't understand. We'd like something a little bit more, we demand something more concrete than just, you've got to improve. And it cannot just be concomitant on test scores.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Ornetta Murray. I am a special ed teacher in West Briar. My concern is the teachers, the concern with the staff, concern with the bus drivers, concern with counselors. Are they going to have a job? Everything that you say, it's based on the board of managers. But these people, they're working right now. It's a lot of teachers not here right now because they went to work, they're struggling, and then this is looming over our head. My issue with TEA, if they didn't make the right decision about disseminating the information, they should have waited till June instead of, February, doing a high month of time of academic, testing and getting ready. What are you going to do? Can you guarantee that our teachers, that our bus drivers, that our nurses, that our cafeteria workers will have a job after June 1st when the new board take on? Let me say this one more thing. You all also, this is what I got to say this. I think Abbott is, if he wants to run for president, the way he's doing it right now, he's not going to win. He messed up with Uvalde, and he's messing up with HISD. And at the end of the day, you can't win a race just with y'all. You win a race with all. So I'm asking you, can you guarantee, because right now the teachers are stressed, can you guarantee whoever it is in charge, our teachers are going to still have a job after this takeover?
So that's a great question. I understand your concern. So that what I can guarantee is that the Board of Managers and the Superintendent are going to be committed to making sure that you are supported, you're well-resourced, and that you have jobs.
The lies.
Yes, ma'am. Hi, ma'am.
The lies. Our teachers are with those kids every day. They are with them more than their parents are. I went to a school board meeting, but let me tell you something. You got a wraparound in a school. You have community and schools in there, and those kids aren't getting what they need because y'all too busy fighting amongst each other trying to see who's going to get paid the most. I don't care about your salary. I care about the fact that y'all came in and took a damn hostile takeover to HISD. Then we have 5 black high schools. Now we are talking about segregation. We are talking about taking away the last 5 high schools that are owned by, that are named after historical black people. You will not. If we got to do whatever we got to do as a community, we going to stand together. You all go up to Austin, you sit on those benches, y'all make decisions for our teachers. You make decisions, and then when they want to raise, you got the audacity to give them 1 or 2%. When they with those kids from 6:30 in the morning to 6 o'clock in the evening, the school bus drivers, they have to drive those kids and have to pick up extra hours just to make the money. Our HISD police department, who have to come in, don't nobody talk about that. So let me tell you something as a parent, and I ain't even scared to say it, yes, my daughters are in charter school. They've been there. They don't know what it's like to go to HISD, but I'm a product of a public school. My mama worked in the kitchen washing dishes. She learned how to make the food in the kitchen. So I'm 51 years old, and it ain't nothing wrong with a public school. What's wrong is the teachers are underpaid and overworked. So don't you get out of my ear. You're not going to tell me what to ask. So you need to figure it out because we're going to help you and Abby figure it out. Since y'all so deep in the pockets, we are going to stand together.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir.
First and foremost, I'm a concerned taxpayer that's a graduate of this school, class of '81. And my question to you would be, is it takeover because you're trying to say that the academic levels are low in certain schools?
That is correct. There are a subset of students, subset of schools that have been chronically underperforming.
Okay, my second question to you is, I'm not gonna make this long, but this is something I want everybody to hear me. Will the takeover instill values, morals, and principles within HISD students?
Our intention is to select a group of people that will support that.
Okay. I have something I want you to think about. If you want to raise the academic levels, first thing I say, you should push to your local congressman to vote to give parents their authority back over the household to govern their children without fear of disciplinary sanction being brought upon them by the judicial system. Number two, reason why I'm saying this, I used to work for HISD as a police officer. I left the school district because the politics in the school was trying to tell the police officers how to police children of violent nature. So I left and I went to work for Harris County Sheriff's Department. I retired and came back in law enforcement because I see these kids are in need of role models. Now, my question is, another question is here. Parents, you need to get more involvement with these kids. What you need to do is, instead of spending time at AAU events, take that time and sit in the classroom to see what's being taught to your child. That way, when your kid does come home with homework, you're brought up to speed on a new level of academic training that the children are getting. Does that make sense? Don't come to the school wanting to fight the teacher because you didn't teach your child how to count from 1 to 100, how to learn their ABCs, to learn that a capital A is not an uppercase or a lowercase when it's a small a. So what I'm saying is, right now, the way we're gonna fix this problem, it don't matter what your skin color is, you must come together like this before it gets to this point. Because even when TEA takes over, they got the same degrees, same certification, same certificates as the school board members now. So the only way we can fix that, united we stand, divided we fall.
Thank you, sir.
As a reminder, the community meeting will last until 7:30. Just as a reminder, the community meeting will last until 7:30. It is 7 o'clock. Please be courteous of other speakers as you're asking questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening, ma'am.
I'm a graduate from Kashmere Senior High, and what it is I want to know, why did they send you and you can't answer any of our questions?
I've tried my best to answer questions.
I understand that, but you are not who we need to talk with. And this is not at one meeting. I've been listening to what you've been saying, and you quoted, this is not about the teachers, it's not about the parents, then what is it about?
So I misspoke there, and I apologize. That was not true.
But no, that's not, no, you didn't miss, no. I want to know, what is this takeover about? And if you can't answer the question, you need to go back to your boss and tell him we no longer want to talk to you, not any disrespect to you, but we don't want, nor do we need to talk to you. We need answers, and we need them now, because these meetings that y'all are holding is you're trying to pacify us, and we don't need a pacifier. We need some answers out here. You get Greg Abbott, get him out here. He is the main one that started this. And I have one more question for you. When did you guys decide to take over? Because it wasn't last night. It wasn't last month. Y'all been planning this here. This been in the making. And then you want to say, oh, it's because of one school. No, no, it's not, because if that was the case, you beat and took over a lot of schools here in Texas. And why haven't you all taken control over the other school? But I'm going to go ahead on and I'm going to sum all of this here up. And what it all boils down to is all about money, and ask your boss to come to the meeting.
Thank you, ma'am.
My passion, I went to Kashmere High School. I'm a product of HISD, a Curry Road product right up the street. Grew up in Gulf Coast, in this whole area. We had teachers that really cared. We had parents that really cared, but the thing that really bothers me right now is that they want to see us emotional. I'm talking to the parents. They want to see us acting up. They want to see us just getting into it with each other. The thing that we have to start doing is having a plan of action. over and over. We have to keep meeting with each other. We can't just come when this here happen right here. See, we have to be proactive, not reactive. Now we come here, we're yelling, we fussing and all that. They don't care nothing about that. What they only care about is what they have on paper right now. And no matter what we say right now, they still gonna take this thing over. But what we saying, I wanna ask you this question. When we get this, when all this thing is said and done with the board of members and all this thing, when we take our campus back, when is the deadline, when is the time, or how long will it take for us to get the HISD back to the community and the constituents of this area?
So after 2 years, it will be considered, we'll have to look at the exit criteria, but 2 years is the minimum amount of time.
Okay, so the exit criteria, what does that mean when you say exit criteria?
Yes, sir. So it's three things. One is no multi-year DNF schools. Improvement in delivery of special education, delivery of practices for students with disabilities.
Okay, yeah, I'm trying to hear this. See, this is what we're talking about. We need to start listening. We're trying to get our campus back right now. We're trying to get it back. So go ahead, sir. I just want to hear that. I just want to hear that so we can have a.
The last one is improvements in governance and board systems and processes.
Okay.
So, and that's using a framework that we have at Lone Star Governance.
All right.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
I'm an HISD parent. I have a student with a disability, and she receives special education services in HISD. For the last couple years, I've been advocating with our elected school board, the people that we chose to run our school district, and several of them are here tonight. I have access to them. I've been able to meet with them to help advocate for students in the district. I'm very concerned about a new board of managers and what qualifications they will have for special education, since it's one of the priority areas of a takeover. What qualifications is the commissioner going to be looking for in a board of managers that is going to help solve the special education crisis, which has been going on for years, and the TEA has been here for 2 years overseeing special education and not been able to improve it. I really need to understand what the qualifications of those people would be and what there's already exit criteria for special education, so what's changing?
So let me just be clear about what we're looking for. So first and foremost, a belief that all kids can learn, and that includes especially students who are receiving special education services. We're looking for folks who represent the community, who come from all over the city, who represent the diversity, the socioeconomic, racial, geographic diversity of the city, and we're looking for folks who are willing to engage with the community, who are willing to work together. And let me just add to your point about special education. There actually have been improvements specifically in child find over the past 2 years with our conservators, but we're going to be looking for folks who have, really at the core is who believe that all kids can learn and are willing to work together.
But they won't necessarily have to have special education knowledge or expertise to serve on a board of managers?
Not specifically, no ma'am.
I'm an HISD teacher, and this is the first year that's felt normal since the pandemic, and really due to the incredible efforts of students and teachers, we're finally getting our schools back to pre-pandemic levels, right? Including Wheatley High School, right? Everyone's getting back to those levels, but the state of Texas has now imposed 3 new measures. One, we're doing a STAR 2.0. Can anyone explain this to me? Why we're making the STAR exam more difficult? One, can you answer that in a second? 2, why is it that the T-test system, this teacher evaluation system, it's stressing our teachers and our administrators out to the max? We're having to do more walkthroughs than ever before, more meetings. Everyone, there's teachers that are on anxiety medication, for God's sake. And then to make it worse, our rating system has changed. You guys have changed the scale score on the career readiness section, which has taken schools that were at a B and put them into a D or failing. So looking at these 3 criteria, tell me, why has the state of Texas made these changes if it's not to set up our schools to fail? So could you talk about the STAR 2.0 for one?
So the goal is not to set up students to fail. The goal is to support school systems. We're trying to raise the bar and expectations for students.
Why are you trying to raise the bar and we're still barely out of the pandemic?
students fell behind, and we're trying to make sure that they meet where we expect them to
By
be.
creating an exam that you know in advance that they were going to fail in large numbers.
We don't believe they're going to fail.
Right. Is it also true that some school districts had to pilot the test?
I don't know if that's accurate.
Right. I'd like to hear more about that, but.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, good evening. I'm also an HISD teacher. And so here's the thing. Here's the thing, y'all. 210,000 children in this district, and TEA is telling us they're taking over our district, taking control away from us for the good of our children. They're not with our children. We are. And when they come in, they're going to focus on STAR preparation, which gets rid of non-STAR tested classes and programs. That means music, that means art, that means sports. And those are the programs that keep our kids sane. Those are the programs that keep our kids willing to keep going in math, science, English, social studies, languages, and their other academic electives. So what is TEA going to do when they come in here to recognize the humanity of the children we are recognizing the humanity in every single day? What are you going to do to prevent our children from being robbed of their life-saving, life-giving programs?
We don't plan to get rid of any of that.
You don't plan to, but that doesn't mean it won't happen, and we know
won't
that.
get rid of any of that. That's what makes school special, and we thank you for everything you do.
Believe me, it means more coming from the children.
Yes, ma'am.
For years, Dutton peddled the lie that Kashmere never had a certified math teacher, and one of his reasons for writing 1842. On the note of certified teachers, I want everyone to know that HB 1842 also brought with it District of Innovation, which gives districts who participate the same freedoms as charter schools, freedoms to circumvent state laws that protect students, teachers, parents' rights, including the right to a certified teacher. HISD is one of the only districts in the state that isn't a District of Innovation because our District Advisory Committee voted it down before it could be brought before the school board. My question is, what does the law say about our District Advisory Committee? Is the Board of Managers going to try to bring in their own people and force uncertified teachers on our children?
One, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't want to give you any legal answers to that. What I can say is that the Board of Managers is going to be expected to keep up, if not most, if not all, the advisory committees that are currently run.
Will they be picking the District Advisory Committee?
I imagine so. I can't answer that, but I imagine they will be. And the reason why I anticipate that will happen is because engagement's going to really matter for the Board of Managers and the superintendent.
Okay. The reason this man doesn't sound very knowledgeable when it comes to education and some of the answers he's giving is because he's a Teach for America alumni. He's unqualified, anti-union, public school disruptors, and most of the TA is TFA alumni.
Thank you, ma'am.
So I have a question for the puppet master, you. First of all, I have two questions, but I also have a comment. First of all, TEA I'm a history teacher here in this district. And TEA right now reminds me of the Ku Klux Klan. So let me give you a little brief history of the Ku Klux Klan. They used to ride at night where they couldn't be seen by people as they went and lynched black people throughout the South. What you did during spring break when you knew that teachers wouldn't be there, students wouldn't be there, and board members wouldn't be there, you went and lynched our district. That's what you did, TEA. So I just want to know, I see you. And it's time that y'all be called out for the BS. That's number one. Number two, my question is, what are you going to do about teacher consultation? What are you going to do? Are you going to sit down with the teachers who actually are with the children day in and day out and get our input on what's going on? Because again, it's easy to make decisions from a glass house.
So our expectation is going to be that the Board of
No, I
Managers
don't want to
that we
hear your
select
expectation.
and the
I want to know
superintendent-
what's going on.
That's going to happen is they're going to meet with and do teacher consultation just like they normally do.
So I'm hearing you say that teachers will have a seat at the table, and I also mean teachers who are also in these Title I schools with these black and brown children who are poor and in poverty. We also deserve a seat at the table.
That's correct, ma'am.
And my last question is about the STAR test. I don't know if y'all know, but the state of Texas has spent $78 million yearly on the STAR test. So are we going to be required to keep teaching STAR? I mean, because again, your measurements, since we talk about data so much in this district, your measurements saying that there's a certain goals that we have to measure, and of course that's around testing. And you already know, because you already have the data and the stats, you already know that in certain areas our children are not meeting the standard, and the standard is white, by the way, that the standard for your expectations. So what do you plan to do about that?
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes,
sir.
Good evening, everybody. So I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher at Fleming Middle School. And my students both feeder into both Wheatley High School and Kashmere High School. First and foremost, to that young lady that spoke yesterday, that 11th grader that I saw speaking, that got disrespected by you. When we teach our students to stand up for themselves, that young lady was at a meeting yesterday. Her questions were not answered. She was ignored. And as a teacher, I find that to be offensive. Secondly, TEA don't know what goes on in these schools. They don't know what goes on in this neighborhood. We don't have the resources that we need to get these kids where they need to be. I'm on the front lines daily. I may have went to the school that I teach at now. I may not no longer live in Fifth Ward anymore, but I'm aware to what's going on. I make this hour drive daily to come teach the kids in this neighborhood because my services is needed more in this neighborhood than probably any other neighborhood. So I'm willing to come to this side of town and to teach these students, these black and brown students that are probably watching today. Because one of the things that we are taught, that we should model the behavior that we want our students to do. So I hope our students are watching their teachers defend them, because no one else is really talking about these children. Because at the end of the day, it's about the children, because they are the future. So once again, you should be taking input from the teachers, from the folks in this community, because we are there. We show up to teach these kids. It's us spending our money when these kids say they are hungry. It is us finding ways to try to store food in our classrooms so that when these kids come to us because they can't learn because they're sitting there hungry, or they're sitting there because they don't have lights on, or they're sitting there because their family don't have water. I thank God for HISD for having wraparounds that we can go and pay these kids rent, get these kids the things that they need so that they can have an opportunity to learn. So when the state comes in to do this, we know the state is not about to continue these services that we have for these students. And lastly, as I taught my students, because my background is in history, and I make sure my students know the importance of voting. So I hope right now that they have learned that they should go out and vote so that we don't end up in this situation ever again. Because as they know, they all know that they have rights. All my students know that. And at the end of this, everyone else here should know that you have rights as well. And hopefully this will bring the community out and make sure that we vote, 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 vote.
Thank you, sir.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me. Just as a reminder, it is 7:20. We will end at 7:30.
Say, Gary, let this man talk. You taking up time.
Thank you.
I'm a parent. I'm a taxpayer, and I'm a teacher. I have a student in HISD. She's done a great job. What I did not realize is that HISD is one of the wealthiest districts in the state. It's the wealthiest next to Austin. Yet, we never have money. I could not understand it because I was listening to the Legislative Budget Board. And this is where I got the information from. This is criminal what y'all doing. If you were at a bank, you'd be robbing a bank, you robbing our community. It is enough, our glass is full. People are passionate about what's going on in our schools. Then you're talking about giving $8,000 vouchers to rich people to pay at private schools. You're going to take money from our schools that we need resources and give it to those rich people. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. It's enough. We're tired of it. Stop victimizing our district. We have a B rating. That's above average. We have a B rating. It's above average. It makes you don't have any justification for coming in here taking over this district. None whatsoever. Okay. Enough is enough. We're fed up. We're fed up, and we're going to fight to stop this takeover. It makes no sense.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. My name's Mike Doyle. I'm a lawyer here in town in large part because my aunt, who is a teacher's aide at a public school, encouraged me and my brothers to go on to college. I'm also the chair of the Harris County Democratic Party now. I have a math question because I heard you tonight, last night, and we heard TA Commissioner Mike Morath in the Houston Chronicle interview point to Shepherd as what they're going to do HISD. And the math question is this little ISD up the road has less than 2,000 students. We've got over 209,000 here in HISD. They have 1,400 economically disadvantaged students. We got over 165,000 here in HISD. They have 35 English language learners in Shepherd. We've got over 71,000. They got 144 teachers up in Shepherd when they took over. We have over 11,000. So here's my math question. Did TEA come in and help those 35 English language learners up in Shepherd? What was the secret sauce? Because we've got 71,000 here. Did they have training for their 144 teachers that we keep hearing as a success? What are they going to do for the 11,000 teachers here? Because kind of the big question is, if they're doing this, are they going to pay for it with the 1,000 less people at TA, 500 are accountants, or what are they going to do? Are they start taking tax money from our parents, our taxpayers here, to pay for consultants that magically did this with 144 students up in Shepherd? What's the answer, sir? It's just a math question. It's just a math question.
It's a great question. So the TA has appointed board of managers in 7 other districts since 2010 and has shown results in 6, including Shepherd, since that time. And they've ranged everywhere from 3,400 students to 50,000 in El Paso ISD. You're right. District's not as large as HISD. That's why we got to appoint the best people in Houston.
So what, you didn't answer my question about where are they going to get the money. Are they going to have these unelected people appointed by Abbott appointees taking money to pay for consultants? What are they going to do? Where's it coming from?
Wherever school funding comes from normally.
Well, and the reason I ask is, twice in the last week, Governor Abbott has been talking exactly about what that last gentleman talked about, giving vouchers to rich people and taking away money from the schools. So how's that going to work math-wise?
Sir, we're going to continue to work with the legislature to fund schools the way they deserve to be.
Hi, my name's Amanda Tim, and I have 2 HISD graduates and a current Heights High School sophomore. I'm going to ask the same question I did last night again, and then I have a second question. First, there's a $33 billion surplus at the Texas legislature. Is Mike Morath asking for some of that money to help do all the things that we need to do to get back to where we need to be in HISD?
So I do know that the commissioner is having conversations with members of the legislature, including the Houston delegation, for additional funding. Specifically, I don't know exactly how much he's asking for, what he's requesting, but he is speaking with legislators for additional funding.
Okay. So the second question is, it's chilling when a democratically elected Board of Trustees is being replaced, at least temporarily, by appointed Board of Managers. What will be the public oversight and transparency for the community? Are you going to have an independent group of observers of teachers, parents, community members who can make sure you're picking qualified people instead of political operatives for the Board of Managers?
So it's a great question. So we are going to ask the elected folks here in Houston to provide feedback on the people that applied to the Board of Managers. So they're going to have a say. So your elected officials will have a say. So provide feedback on who gets selected. Okay. So there will be that. And then the second part is once the people are appointed, there will be avenues that we're going to stand up in order for you to provide feedback and concerns, any questions you have for specific Board of Managers.
Thanks.
We will have those processes.
Call your representatives, call your state senators.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir.
How you doing, sir? My name is Roger Coleman. It's two things come to mind when I listen and I hear people here. It's accountability, for one, right, and evolution. What we need to do, they need trades in these schools that's more up to date to what kids would love to come to school and be proud to come to school, not only just to learn, but give them something that's outside of that. And when I speak of accountability, I hear people yelling and screaming, and that's cool. But parents, y'all got to get off Facebook and Instagram too and be accountable for what's going on as well, because it's a team collective effort. We can beat him up and what they doing all day, but it's everybody. We got to do this together, man, for real. Fighting each other, bickering at each other, man, that's nonsense. That's nonsense, and that's what they looking for, that's what they want. It's about evolution and accountability. We have to bring these times up for these kids what's going on today, not what was going on in the 90s and the 80s when we went to school, and that's the problem. They still teaching the same curriculum, running the same trades that they've been doing all these years, and that's why we at where we at now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, so I'm a first-year teacher at a public school outside of HISD. I am a first-generation college graduate. My parents migrated from Mexico to come here for a better opportunity. I was afforded that opportunity through my public education. I became a public school teacher because I wanted to pay that opportunity forward. However, the Texas Education Agency has made it difficult for teachers to focus on the education of the whole child, specifically the Black and brown children. You continue to say that HISD takeover is about multiple failing schools in this district, but there are multiple failing schools across Texas. For those who may not know, the STAR test results will not be released until September of 2023. At that point, my now third grade students who do not know how to read, write, or do math will move forward to fourth grade still not knowing how to read, write, or do math. The TEA doesn't care about the STAR results. The TEA just doesn't care about the children. They just care about the STAR results. So I encourage all teachers across all districts to boycott the STAR test because they do not care. They do not care. In honor of Cesar Chavez Day tomorrow, I want to say this. History will judge societies and governments in their institutions, not by how big they are or how well they serve the rich and the powerful, but by how effectively they respond to the needs of the poor and the helpless.
Thank you, ma'am.
It is now 7:30. This will be our last question.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me, please? My name is Meg Steff. I'm a special educator, advocate, and consultant for 30 years. I'm retired now, and I want to give you one piece of help for your kids. Bring your kids to pre-kindergarten. It's the most important thing you can do for your kids get them to pre-kindergarten, and make sure you have a speech and language pathologist in every single classroom. And I'm asking you to guarantee that there will be a speech and language pathologist for every one of these kids, because if they don't have language, they're never going to read. And nobody's addressing that, and I am. And I'm going to fight to make sure every single kid has one.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. I think this is our last question. Last question to respect the staff time. Yes, sir.
All right. Have y'all ever thought about getting rid of the STAR test?
It's mandated by the federal government.
But it's under a 5-year contract. It actually costs close to $100 million a year. In a 5-year span, that's $500 million that can go into the classrooms and things like that. Why not let us keep all our money here and let the teachers teach again, and then we could turn the district around? Now, earlier somebody said vote. That's not good enough. You need to know who and what you're voting for. Bad legislation got us in this predicament. They not white either. They look just like us. So we got to hold everybody accountable. Use that Trump energy right here in Houston, Texas. House Bill 1842 says as of August 15, 2018, if just one school is 5 years and beyond in our aura, they can take the entire district. Who would sign something like that? Who would write something like that? And who would vote something like that? So we got to hold people accountable here in our neighborhoods too. We got sellouts here in Houston, Texas. We got to treat them like sellouts here in Houston, Texas. So we got to hold people accountable too. Last but not least, what's going to happen with our tax dollars? My tax bill say Houston Independent School District. It don't say anything about charter schools. It don't say anything about partnerships. This is more about money. It's all about compensation that have nothing to do with education. Thank you.
All right, y'all, we are at time. In order to protect staff time, thank you guys so much. The deadline to apply for the Board of Managers is April 6th. Thank y'all for your time tonight. Have a good evening.
Everyone go to HoustonCVPE.org, HoustonCVPE.org.
And sign the petition.
Houston.
I'll be there.
We're going to make an announcement.
Oh, yeah. You stole my dollar. I'm messing with you. No, that's whatchamacallit. Yeah. Take that money.